Hello and welcome to Sangoma Society. My name is Hani Makwakwa and I am Hani Tell a Story on all social media. UMakhosi Nomabutho emsamo. I'd like to welcome you to this episode of Sangoma Society where we try to demystify all things related to the realms of the ancestral. And today's topic is going to be why our parents ran away from their calling. Now, this question comes up a lot where people feel like, oh, manje, because somebody didn't answer their calling and now it has fallen to me. And why is that happening? Why was that a trend? Why does it seem as though we follow a generation of people who didn't answer their callings to become izangoma? It actually came to my attention via a friend on Facebook who posted about the Witchcraft Suppression Act of 1957. Now, this was an act by the apartheid government that effectively deemed all ancestral practice, all African spiritual practice to be witchcraft by law. So that means uphahla, uhlaba, all things related to our practice as Africans, our spiritual practice was deemed to be witchcraft, punishable by law. Now, you could be arrested, sent to prison, or sent even to your death if you were accused of witchcraft. So this kind of drove everything related to our practice into secrecy. This was also something that influenced greatly the proliferation of African Zionist churches, where, for instance, one can practice certain elements of our ancestral practices without having to become an initiate. Ukuba izangoma, you can be umprofiti esontweni, umthandazeli esontweni. You can hold a position within the church where you're able to practice your healing and thereby appease your ancestors, but not necessarily becoming izangoma noma inyanga. So, you know, it's not that our parents don't respect our practices. It's that they're coming from a generation of being violently suppressed, even in their spirituality. So that would, you know, obviously influence now when you find people asking the question of why are there so many people who are initiating now? Well, it's because we can. It's because it's legal now. Our parents would have done it. Izinyanga would have been in their millions had it been that they were legally permitted to. But unfortunately, the history of our country did not only suppress our ability to work, own land, own businesses, have savings in our bank accounts. It also affected the manner in which we're able to practice our spirituality. And this led largely to how many families lost actually their practices in terms of their ceremonies regarding coming of age, regarding marriage ceremonies, birthing ceremonies, the welcoming of a child. All of these ceremonies were deemed to be illegal as witchcraft. So, you know, today when you ask your mother, how do we do a ceremony pertaining a certain event that has come to pass in your life, and your mother says that she doesn't know, it's not because they were indoctrinated or they're ashamed of who they are. This was engineered. This was a part of apartheid social engineering to ensure that we are divorced from our culture. It's unfortunate, but it is true. If you're sitting and you have a calling and somebody said to you, wena unedlozi bekumele ukuthi lithwaswe nguma wakho or ngumalume, take a moment and remember that you would not be able to have a calling, to possess this calling, unless you had your own calling to begin with. So before we can twasa amadlozi who were supposed to be initiated by our parents, we have to first have the calling to begin with. And then thereafter, it can happen that we're faced with multiple callings, because an ancestor who perhaps wished to work through an aunt or a mother, a grandmother, and eventually found themselves not being able to come through and be initiated by a mother or grandmother, might now take the opportunity to be initiated through your processes. But you would find that you already had ancestors who were waiting on your agreements with them for their initiation. So it's not as simple as saying that, oh, idlozi laga mama. No, if you have idlozi laga mama, you had your own dlozi as well to begin with. Itongo lako nalo beliglindile, and now there's just a queue that is waiting, that also needs certain rites of passage to be performed for them, because there are generations before us who were not so fortunate that they could openly practice their spirituality as we do today. So I hope that this has answered the question about why it is that our parents did not follow through with their callings. I'm Hani Makwakwa, UMakhosi Nomabutho Emsamo, and this is Sangoma Society. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and also follow me on all social media. I'm Hani Tell a Story, absolutely everywhere. And if you have any questions about today's topic, if there's anything that I didn't touch on, please feel free to ask in the comment section below, and I will definitely make sure to answer that. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time.